Okay, this is not an entirely formed thesis, but it's 8:30 in the morning and I've had a morning already, so hang in there with me. So this morning I was taking my friend Rosemary to the bottle drop. First thing, they open at 8 a.m. I tried to take her earlier this week and the can machine was broken, so we were trying again. It took a lot to get to the point where she would let me drive her versus I'm a little almost 80-year-old woman taking big bags of cans on the bus. So she wouldn't let me wait in line with her, but she would let me give her a ride and drop her off. So it's pouring rain, obviously, like I'm soaking wet. We get the cans, we go down to the can drop, and the parking lot's pretty full, right? Because the machine was broken earlier in the week. Now that it's up and running, there's a long line. It's mostly, unhoused men at this location. And obviously she's the only teeny tiny little old lady. And I'm looking at the parking lot and, right, it's all pretty darn full. And I don't want her walking in the pouring rain from the very back of the parking lot. And so I'm like, you know what? I'm going to pull up right in front and drop you off. And she's like, no, they'll yell at you. And I was like, I don't give a shit if they yell at me. So, it says fire lane on the side. It's a big, wide, huge driveway. There's nobody there. My car is running. And I'm like, I'm going to take 10 seconds and drop you off because you're not walking from the back of the parking lot. So I pull up and I put my emergency blinkers on and the car's still running. And I open the back hatch and the security guard comes screaming out at me, waving his arms, screaming in my face. No, this is a fire lane. No parking here. And I'm like, I'm not parking here. I'm taking exactly 10 seconds to drop off an 80-year-old woman who can't walk from the back of the parking lot. And he goes, I don't care. This is parking. It says no stopping. And I was like, no, it doesn't. It says no parking. Could you have a little grace for an 80-year-old woman who can't walk from the back of the parking lot to take less than 10 seconds to get out of my car? No, this is illegal. He's like screaming at me, illegal. And I was like, okay, I understand you're on a power trip, security guard. I mean, I didn't say that to him, but I was like, okay, I'm leaving. I'm not parking. She's already out of the car and in the line and you're still screaming at me. So you're keeping me here. You are now effectively blocking this fire lane. There's nobody here. It's a huge open fire lane. Should a fire truck turn in, my car is running and I could just leave. But no, I mean, of course, again, I didn't say all that to him out loud. This is just what's going on in my head. He's just screaming at me, no, illegal. And I'm like, one, I didn't deserve to be screamed at in my face at 8 a.m. 2, where the fuck is your sensibility and your compassion for an 80? I just kept saying, like, she's an 80-year-old woman. She's this tiny little stooped over 80-year-old woman who, gosh, like, I wish she would have let me help her more than I was able to help her today. But that's her right. I want to respect her independence and her autonomy and not force her to do things she doesn't want to do. But also at the same time, I'm not making her walk from the back of the parking lot in the pouring rain with cans. I was actually so mad I had to pull over for a second. I sent my friend Rever like a long block of text. I was saying, like, this is the mindset of MAGA. How is it that we have raised an entire generation of people to think that human beings serve rules? And not even just like rules, but taking a rule and making it far more restrictive than it actually is, having it be all about control, having it be all about these sets of rules to limit people, to give you power to restrict other people. But the rules are nonsensical and they're not actually serving anybody. And there's no room for like grace and compassion and humanity whatsoever. This guy fundamentally, I understand he's like the security guy at the bottle drop, but like he fundamentally misunderstood what the rule was in the first place and then was unable to summon up even the tiniest bit of compassion for a teeny tiny little old lady because he cared so much about screaming in my face about the rules. And I understand, like, I'm an unschooler. I understand that, I'm somebody who basically hates rules and hates institutions, is going to challenge and question rules and institutions. And I understand my white privilege in being able to do that. But I loathe the idea of rules just there to control you when they don't actually facilitate a better quality of life for people, when they don't actually serve a helpful purpose. Or that there is so much rigidity, inability to have any flexibility in the rules whatsoever. Like, we have been so indoctrinated in authoritarianism, in serving and obeying the rules and serving and obeying those in authority who make and enforce the rules, that we're unable to see that rigid adherence to rules is often harmful, nonsensical, doesn't benefit us or other people. Right? Folks on the political right love to call anybody in the political left sheeple. That's their big talk about sheeple. And I understand that that's a hefty amount of projection, but it really is that whole, like, we're just going to go along with rules and not question them because we raise our children for 18 years to believe in following rules for rules' sake. We indoctrinate our children to believe in obeying rules, obeying adults in authority above all else, and we harm their bodies, we shame them, we ridicule them, we emotionally abuse them to the point where they just accept that paradigm as like being right and good. And as I was driving home, I just kept thinking, like, this is one of the contributing factors to MAGA, right? This is one of the contributing factors to the ascendancy of fascism in this country. And it doesn't matter how unhelpful or nonsensical the rule is. It doesn't matter that we can use our good human brains and our humanity and compassion to realize when the rule is causing harm, or when we just could like chill the fuck out for a second and realize that no harm is being done and not obeying a rule to the most furthest, strictest version of adherence. And I know I'm going to get people in my comments who are like, well, you shouldn't have broken the rule. What rule was I breaking? Really? What fire truck was I blocking? I wasn't parking in the fire lane, in the big, more than double lane wide fire lane. Where I wasn't parking and my car was running in like 10 seconds so that an 80-year-old woman didn't have to walk from the very back of the parking lot in the pouring rain. I mean, you know what the security guard could have done? He could have seen a tiny little hunched over frail old lady and said, ma'am, let me help you out of your car real quick here because y'all can't hang out in this fire lane, right? Think about how that could have been different. Think about how that whole scenario could have been different. Instead of him coming up to my window screaming in my face, illegal, no! He could have been like, hey ma'am, let me help you real quick because I know y'all got to hop out of this lane because we can't have people staying here. And this mindset, it reminds me very much of what I see in the comments when I talk about immigration enforcement in this country, when I talk about what ICE is doing. MAGA's response is, well, you shouldn't have been in this country illegally. Because you're in this country illegally, undocumented, then we can do whatever we want to you. It's like, oh, you broke a rule. Now it's just like open season to completely discount your humanity and treat you however we want, to commit an ethnic cleansing, to take away your liberty because you broke a rule. Over and over and over, especially on Facebook, in my comments, when we talk about what's happening with ICE, what's happening to our immigrants in this country, I see Republicans over and over and over again be like, we have rules for a reason. We have laws for a reason. You want to be in this country legally? Then you follow the rules. Follow the rules. And when that security dude was screaming at me this morning, I was like, that's exactly how MAGA in my comments about immigration sound. They don't pause for a second to think about how convoluted, onerous, nonsensical our immigration policy is in this country. They don't want to talk about reforming it so it's much easier for people to navigate. It's much safer for everybody in this country. It's much less expensive for everybody in this country. No. They just see, the Republicans told me that these guys broke a rule and we can't have any rule breaking bad. It doesn't matter if the rules are unjust or immoral. It doesn't matter if the process to abide by those rules is completely convoluted and impossible to follow without having any hiccups or any violations of it. No. You got to follow the rule. And if you don't, we can do whatever we want. If you don't want this ethnic cleansing now, if you don't want all of this brutality and illegality now, well, then you should have come into this country legally. No awareness of what it's like, what the process is to come into this country legally or to stay legally. Lots of undocumented people in this country, by the way, did enter legally. They just have overstayed their visas. And not only that, but so many folks being abducted by ICE are here legally. They're going through the asylum process legally. They have their green cards. Close to 200 American citizens have been taken. Over a dozen American citizen children have been exiled from this country by ICE in violation of their constitutional rights. So you want to tell me about the law? You want to tell me about the law when it comes to immigration? You want to tell me about what is right and just? This blind adherence to the rules, setting aside common sense, critical thinking, or maybe having both of those completely stunted in childhood because of authoritarian parenting techniques. Maybe it's the first time obedience. It's the fact that we paddle kids, that we shame and humiliate kids. We've stunted people's ability to have critical thinking, to use good sense, to engage with their compassion. And instead we get strict adherence to the rules. Even to the detriment of our entire society, even to the abandonment of our humanity, even when it hurts other people for no reason. We should have a society where the rules work to benefit us, the people, not us working for the rules. Rules should be there to facilitate a just and functional, compassionate society, not to be followed arbitrarily to to all of our detriment. But that's what we have under fascism. That's what we have, an obsession with the rules. Anyway, okay, I'm gonna go get dried off and warmed up and have a cup of coffee, and then I'll be posting for the day.